Hey guys, it's Catherine and you're watching CUKpop Today, and I just want to make a short little video talking about mental health in light of recent events, not just this last week, but kind of the last half of this year. Before I start on my little discussion though, I just wanted to take a minute to address something that I think a lot of us are feeling right now. So Tumin Jin Jang Ki, if you watched Courtney's and Jasmine's video, they talked about something that was really, it really hit me hard. The fact that we are all mourning and we're all so sad about the passing of Kim Jong-hyun. And they talked about, they feel almost foolish because they're so upset by the passing of this man that they never knew personally. And they just feel kind of like they don't have the right to cry about it. They don't have, they shouldn't be this upset about the situation. And they also talked about just the fact that K-pop is an industry where they don't just sell the music, they sell the artist and they sell the person. And so I thought that was a really good point to touch on and just to expand on it. For all of us, myself included of course, that are upset by what's happened and his death, please don't feel dumb, because I think K-pop is one of those industries, as is a lot of other countries. America is not so much like this. We tend to be interested in the music and kind of the making behind the music, but then we don't really go that much deeper into the artist because a lot of times they want to keep their privacy. They're not interested in sharing every little detail of themselves with us. They're not interested in being the spotlight 24/7. Whereas in K-pop, they don't really have that choice. For better or worse, a lot of times worse, they are put into the spotlight. They're, tell us everything about yourself, tell us all your feelings, tell us, who you like, who you don't like, tell us how you made this music, tell us, just, it's a bunch of cameras in their face. And I feel like that's why we feel so close to them and as if we know them, and that's why this is hitting us so hard, because you are almost with these idols, these boys and these girls 24/7. And I think as a fan, that's incredible. I mean, that's like a dream come true. If you truly love an artist, you get to know almost everything about them. At least you feel like you do. Obviously, you don't know their deepest, darkest secrets or their biggest fears or, who they really love. That stuff is kept private for the most part, but they cater to fans. The fan service is very good. So please do not feel like you're being ridiculous for crying over Jonghyun. He was a human being. He was a man. It's okay to cry over him. Don't feel like, oh, he was just a celebrity that I didn't know. I shouldn't be crying, or I shouldn't still feel sad, 5 days later, 6 days later, 2 months later, a year later. You feel whatever you feel, and don't be ashamed for it, because I was at work, and I work in a place where people are very familiar with K-pop, and not everyone listens to it or is into it or anything, but I have a couple of people that knew what the situation was and what was going on. Even my boss knew what was going on, and he asked me, I love my coworkers and I love my job and I love my boss, but he asked me, oh, are you okay? And just kind of in a general sense, not specifically asking, how am I doing? And I was like, no, I'm not really doing that well. I didn't go into specifics, but in my head, I was like, I've been crying for 4 days straight. I haven't been sleeping. I have not been eating anything. I've lost 6 pounds in 4 days. I'm stressed out, and I'm just worried about SHINee, about his family, about Showel's, and all of that was in my head. But on the surface, I was like, no, I'm not okay. And he looked at me and he was like, because of SHINee? And for a minute, I was like, oh my, he's gonna understand. Not that he has to hug me or anything, but he's gonna get it. And so I was like, yeah, SHINee. And And then he was just he kind of gave me a look like, oh, like, I can't even I can't recreate it, but it was like, oh, silly child, like, oh, silly girl, for crying over, you know, this celebrity, this idol that, you know, you don't know. It was almost like he was kind of looking down on me for being so upset by this. And that just kind of pissed me off. I mean, I'm talking about it here, so it makes it sound like I'm still pissed off, but I did get over it. But at the time, in the moment, I was like, you don't know, like, how I'm feeling. You don't know how this affects me. You don't know, like, and this isn't like, oh, Jonghyun left SHINee and he's a solo artist now and he's not, like, this man died. This man passed away. This isn't something that's very, you know, this isn't something that can be fixed in an instant, or I'm being over dramatic, but like, he's dead. So I don't understand why you're laughing at the situation. Even if you don't care about SHINee, even if you don't even know K-pop, I don't care. If someone told me, hey, my favorite artist, you know, rapper Kizzle Switch, made up name, but like, and I've never heard of the man, I don't know any of his music, but you tell me that he's your favorite artist and he passed away, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You know, that's such a terrible thing. And so I just feel like people's response, and I know it's not just me, I know it's plenty of other people, and they don't even share it with their friends or their family or co-workers, you know, anyone, because people just won't understand. They won't get that, you know, SHINee or Jonghyun or anyone else that has passed away in K-pop affected you and, you know, really kind of touched your heart, and you looked forward to seeing them, you looked forward to listening to them, you know, whatever. Like, they just won't understand, and I just want to let you know, it's fine that they don't understand, but please don't feel embarrassed for being upset. Please don't feel embarrassed for mourning over a celebrity. And this doesn't just have to include K-pop. This includes anything. So just don't apologize for your feelings and for your emotions. Now, moving on to the real reason of this video, mental health. I think, as we all know, if you didn't know before this incident, I'm sure now you do, especially if you're connected to Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, whatever. If you keep up with certain celebrities or organizations, mental health is something that is very taboo in not just Korea, but in Asia, and I think in America as well, in the West as well. There are definitely some ethnicities, some cultures that embrace it a little more, that, you know, understand that this is something very serious, and it doesn't just affect people from 16 and up, or, you know, adults, or people that have gone through traumatic things. It starts even as young as like 7, 8 years old. So, and I think we're seeing more of this as we go on through life. There are more kids, even elementary school kids, that are really troubled and have a lot of just demons and things that they're dealing with inside themselves. And this isn't something that can be cured with, oh, you know, well, everyone's going through a hard time, so you're okay. That's like the worst way to treat it and to handle it. And sometimes it can't even be cured with medication. Sometimes it just needs to be talked out. It just needs to be figured out. Like, it doesn't need anything thrown at it, or, hey, we don't really know what this is, so we're just gonna kind of ignore it. Like, I think mental health is a very big deal all around the globe. And I think it's not just Asia, but Asia definitely has a problem with talking about it, and they definitely shy away from dealing with it. I've only seen, I didn't grow up in an Asian household, but I do have Asian friends, and they have always told me, I mean, like, I've been friends with them for years and years and years, and I've been to their house, and I've, you know, talked with them and had discussions with them, and they've always told me that kind of if you have a problem, you know, that isn't like, a broken arm or a broken leg or a failing grade, and you have a problem sort of up here, they don't feel like they can talk to their parents about it. It's almost as if you need to deal with it yourself, or just kind of shove it under the rug and forget about it. And to me, that's always been just a really sad thing, because in my household, even though it's just me and my mom, I've always felt like, for the most part, I can talk to her about what's going on in my life, with my friends, with teachers, with whatever's going on with me personally. There have been a few years where I went through really heavy episodes of depression, and I was just not happy. And no matter what you did, where I went, who I saw, I was just never happy. And I was just never happy with myself and with my life. And even though it took a while, but eventually I was able to open up about it and to talk to my mom about it, and we were able to get help and see what we could do. And that was just the most freeing thing for me, to know that I'm not alone and someone else is helping me with this, especially when I was younger. And when you're younger, when you're 13, 14, you can tell your friends, if you're close enough with your friends, you can tell them about it and what you're feeling and going through. But usually at that age, there's not a lot they can do to help you. It's more of an adult situation, the adults need to help you. And so that was just amazing for me. And then to hear my friends, that they were saying yeah, sometimes I feel really stressed out. I feel like I can't get through this point in my life. And this was just in high school. So, that just shows how young you can be. Mental health does not have an age limit. And so this was in high school, and they were all saying, they were really struggling, not just with school, but mentally, and just how they were doing with themselves and how they were accepting themselves through life and everything. And it just made me so sad to hear that they couldn't open up about it. They opened up about it with each other, with their friends, but it was more in a joking sense, and they never actually took it seriously. Hey, we should really sit down and talk to each other about what we're feeling, because this is an issue. This isn't something that should be left untreated. It was always just kind of in passing, yeah, I'm stressed out and I feel like killing myself, but whatever. And I know that a lot of people joke that way, and especially if you're on social media in any way, Twitter especially, you see a lot of jokes like that, and you see a lot of people say things whew, wanted to kill myself 5 times today, but I'm still here, just kind of in an handed way. And I think for a lot of people, they don't even think twice about it anymore. We've just become so desensitized to those kinds of jokes and those kinds of mentalities. But for a lot of other people, many more people, those would be serious things to say. That would be very alarming to come from someone. And so I just think that mental health really needs to be looked at more, especially in everyone's lives, but especially in an environment where you're working hard, you're very pressured by higher powers. And I'm not just talking about K-pop companies, but I'm talking about all sorts of kind of jobs and careers. We hear a lot about suicides in Japan, or deaths in Japan because of overworking. And not the death from overworking is not considered a suicide, but the companies that push their employees that hard, that they are working 80-hour work weeks, they don't sleep, they hardly get to eat, they don't have social lives, they don't get to relax, it's practically the company killing their employees. It's very irresponsible, to say the least, and it's very troubling. And these companies don't even, they make slight changes to their mottos or their statements, or their company's lifestyle, but then 3 months down the road, it's back to the same thing, and their employees are overworked and they're stressed out and they're dying, or they don't have time for normal lives. They don't have time for a relationship, a romantic relationship, a relationship with their family, a relationship with just friends, with just a good buddy. And so I think overall, mental health is something that people in Asia really need to look at. And I don't know how me personally can change anything over there, especially not being Asian. I don't think that this is something that non-Asians can really take care of. I think this is something that Asian people and Asian communities are going to have to sort of step up for themselves and really say, hey, we have a problem here. As should everyone. It's not just Asian communities, as I've said. Like, it's still sort of seen like if in white communities, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, especially at a young age, it's kind of like it's a little more okay if you're 35 or older and you got a life, you've got a career, you've got a family, you've got stuff going on, and you're like, yeah, I'm seeing a psychiatrist. People are a little more accepting, although the older you do get, the more people are kind of like, really? Why? You can't handle that on your own? Like, it's sort of seen as a weak, just kind of a weak thing about you. But even like young people, especially in high school, if you're in high school and you're seeing a psychiatrist or a doctor, regularly, once a week or once a month, news spreads, and that's kind of like, you're kind of the weirdo, and you're like, oh yeah, you're like that basket case that everyone needs to watch out for, make sure you don't shoot up the school. So mental health is not just an Asian problem, and I know that, and I'm not saying that no one else can help, like other races and other cultures can't help each other with their problems and boost each other and kind of raise awareness for these things. But I ultimately feel like no one is going to listen to a white person, Hispanic person, black person. No Asian person will listen to them, because they'll be like, you don't know, you don't understand what we're going through. Okay, well, other people do. Other Asians understand what you're going through, so talk to them. Make sure, converse with them, relate to them, because it's a huge deal right now, and I just feel like everyone's sweeping it under the rug, and it makes me really sad. Going back to K-pop, we have multiple artists, like even now, Taeyeon. We have multiple artists that we know, and we've known for months, for years, that they've been battling depression, or they have inner demons, they have hard times that they've gone through. And I think as fans, we acknowledge it, but we don't really feel like there's a whole lot for us to do. And so when something like this does happen, like with Jonghyun, we're all sitting here and we're all kind of going, what could we have done? What could we have said to make you feel like we loved you, and you were incredible to us, and you mean so much to us. But there are plenty of other artists out there. Bang Young-gook was going through a hard time, and he had to, suspend activities with B.A.P because he was going through what TS Entertainment said were mental health issues, and he was battling problems of his own. Choa from AOA, I believe that's her name, she had to leave AOA. This isn't just a hiatus, but she just left the group because she was so stressed out about the group and about her life and how she was looking, and she was really under a lot of pressure from her company, and she just couldn't handle it. And so mental health issues sort of took over her life, which is so sad, because we all knew how much she wanted to debut and how much she wanted to be a singer, and she wanted to be in that group, and she loved her girls. And the fact that she left was so stunning and just kind of shocking. But to be honest, if that's what it takes for an idol to be happy, for them to be healthy, then I'm all for it. Nam Taehyun from Winner, even though I was extremely sad that he left Winner because he was just so unique and so needed in that group, but you know what? If he's happier now and he's getting the help he needs that YG wouldn't provide him when he was in the company, that's great. I will take that any day over an idol feeling like they have nowhere to go, they have nowhere to run, they can't talk to anyone. Even if they talk to, their members or people in their group, it still doesn't do anything, it doesn't help. So I will take that over them taking a drastic measure, such as suicide or harming themselves in any way. For people that are very, very, controlling. I'm talking about fans that are controlling with their idols. When Minzy left 21, I mean, we know that they basically all left 21, but only the news broke that Minzy left. And when she left, there were so many people that came after her and that attacked her and were saying, how could you do this to our girls? You broke up 21. We all hate you. Go kill yourself. They were attacking her family, her friends, and just there's shit like that can really mess up someone's head. Like, these are human beings, as we've all reiterated this week, and I think we've all said in years before, not just this week, but years before this ever happened. These are human beings, and how dare you attack them in that way and make them feel like they caused, a band to break up, or they caused, A, B, and C, or make them feel like they're less of a human because of what they've done. Like, and then to go after their family and their friends, that's just sick and that's disgusting. If you notice the pattern that has been happening, I believe that a lot of these artists, now some of them may have already had problems before they ever became an idol, before they ever started training. I think a lot of them, however, started having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, just bouts of depression. They feel very stressed out. They're just constantly like under pressure. Like B2B's Pino, like the fact that he lost his hair because he was so stressed out and had so much anxiety over the group and just where they were going, whether they were going to break up, whether they were doing well. Like, if you notice the pattern, these kids are not, and for the most part, I mean, a lot of them they're getting older, but there are a lot more groups debuting, and they're getting younger and younger. And these kids, I can promise you, were probably just fine as kids and teenagers, and these problems didn't start until after they started training and after they debuted, which just, I don't know, kind of makes you question the companies. And we're not naive enough to not blame the companies. I mean, we know how the companies work by now. We know that they're super harsh on their trainees and their employees, guys and girls especially. So, like, it just comes down to what is going on in the companies and how are the companies treating their employees and what can we do to make that better. I saw like an incredible idea, and now it's spread a lot and there are petitions for it, but an incredible idea that companies should have like weekly kind of therapy sessions for their employees, because as an idol, as a trainee, they're going through so much harsh stuff, especially for a teenager, for some of them, for preteens. Like, it's just too harsh for that young of an age. And so group therapy sessions, which was an incredible idea, and I've signed a couple of those petitions. They're really gaining traction. And I don't think it's a matter of money for the companies, especially companies like SM, JYP, YG. I definitely don't think it's a money issue. I think it's a liability issue, because I can guarantee you those companies, even though it's kind of doctor-patient confidentiality, which I assume is global. I mean, we have that here in America. I'm just going to assume that's everywhere, maybe not. But I can promise you there's some nasty shit that probably goes on behind the scenes that we can't even imagine. And the companies don't want their employees talking to someone else about that, because whoop, what if that slips out? What if that gets into the news? What if that, and then it becomes major headlines and everything. So, because we know companies that are they don't have the name that, let's say, SM does, but they might have a couple, one or two really big groups, and we know that they've taken advantage, like, what was the girl group, the ARC, I think it was called, where we found out there was like prostitution, the girls had been abused, they had been taken advantage of, and this was all by the CEOs, the heads of the company. So I'm not saying there's anything like that going on in SM or the big three, but even just the simple fact that we know that, like, during trainee days, a lot of trainees are starved. Like, they don't get proper nutrition even though they're working full days, full, like over 10-hour days, and they don't get the proper meals that they need to stay healthy, to stay fit, to stay, good. So I just don't think, there's just so much corruption, and there's so many people that if the floodgates were open on this issue, on mental health, and people actually started talking about mental health and how it affects them and how we can change it, I just don't think the companies would survive, to be honest, because a lot of the problem stems from those companies. Now, moving on to another idol that had an issue this year, whether you can say it's mental health or if it was just an accident, there was Top, who had, at first it seemed like an accidental overdose with his sleeping pills, and he was in a coma for 1 or 2 days, I believe. Go look up like the details. I don't remember all the details anymore, but right before that he had that whole scandal with people finding out he smoked weed with a YG trainee who was a girl and was much younger than him. And so there was that whole scandal, and then right after that, the coma happened. There were so many people. Like, I couldn't believe this, how mean people were, and how just vindictive, and like saying, well, he deserved it. I mean, he was smoking weed, he was with a minor. Like, so you're saying someone's death is okay because they smoked a plant? Like, that's what you're saying? Like, it was so ridiculous and so evil, and I couldn't believe people would actually say those things. And when I heard about Junghyun's death and about it being a suicide, like, that's the first thing I thought of, were those people that said those things about Top and were saying like, well, he deserved it. Well, good. Now we don't have to worry about him anymore. Well, good. Big Bang's gone. Like, it just really shocked me. And when people try to tell you that the human spirit is, good, just go look at those comments, because that's not good. Like, people are truly evil sometimes. And it really upset me because we all thought that Top was possibly going to die, or if he woke up again, he wouldn't be the same anymore. Like, his mind might have been altered in some way. And I made a video on that and on that whole situation. And I just remember, like, before I made the video, I was crying, and then after I finished it, I still cried, and I was so relieved when we found out that he was going to be okay. Obviously, there was going to be a traumatic side to that. I mean, he was in a coma, he overdosed, all of this stuff, but I was just so happy that he was alive. And just all of the comments concerning that, a lot of people will just say life got a little too hard for him and that's why he took so many pills, but I think it's more than that, because if you keep up with Big Bang, especially Top and his private life, he seems very closed off from a lot of people. And despite what his persona is as Top, the actual man seems very quiet and seems very distant a lot of the times. And I feel like Top is just his alter ego that he kind of puts on for everyone so that he doesn't really have to show them his true side. But it just kind of, because Big Bang, just as with Shiny, Big Bang is like the biggest boy band in the world, the most well-known. Even if you're not Asian or you're not into K-pop, sometimes you get those people that are like, yeah, I've heard of Big Bang, like they're huge. Big Bang makes tons of money. Now we don't know how much exactly each of the members make, but I assume Top makes a hefty chunk because he's kind of like the face of Big Bang. And they make money, they're popular, they get endorsements, you know, they're at award shows, they're in interviews, they have friends, they have family. And so it just goes to show you, like, you can have all of those things and you seemingly on the surface have a really strong foundation and you have lots of people to support you and talk to and everything. And yet a lot of these idols, including Top, felt like, whether it was just the scandal or maybe something other than that, or just a whole lot of things just built up and it just kind of consumed him and kind of suffocated him, he just felt like there was no other way and he felt just trapped. And so I just think if these people that seemingly have everything can still feel hopeless and there's nowhere to turn, I can't talk to anyone, I can't do anything about this, I have so much money but none of it helps, and they still try to commit suicide or succeed in committing suicide, I just think that's when you need to look at the real problem, which is mental health, and then how do you solve that problem. Also discussing how suicide affects others. Now, as we all know, we're very affected by it, and we didn't even know the man, Jonghyun. But I can't even imagine what SHINee is going through or what his family is going through. And for people that also knew Jonghyun, but maybe we just don't think of them as being very close, like Jung Jun-young, if you know who that is. He was in a band, and then he's also a solo artist. He's on 2 Days, 1 Night. And he recently lost a friend and a co-worker who used to work on 2 Days, 1 Night with him, and he lost him in a car accident. And now he lost Jonghyun, who Jung Jun-young and Jonghyun were actually very close and very good friends. So he's lost 2 good friends within a span of, like, I want to say 3-4 months. Like, that's too much to handle. And so for people that were close to Jonghyun and were friends with him, I just hope that they don't feel hopeless and they don't feel like suicide is the answer. I hope that Jonghyun's actions show them that, like, this is it's a very final decision, and the after effects of him dying, there's so many people that are upset and are sad and are heartbroken. And even there are some people that have taken their own lives because Jonghyun took his, and they just feel so overwhelmed by his death and probably other things in their life that they feel they should end it as well. And I hope that none of these celebrities and no more fans feel like that is the answer, because it's definitely not. I just don't understand how people can experience a suicide, whether it's personally close to them in their own life or through something like this where it's a celebrity that commits suicide. And so I hope that no one feels like that's the answer to things, because it's definitely not. Onu's message that he put on Instagram was heartbreaking, but it was also very sweet, and it just shows how good of a leader he is, because even though this is his friend and his member that died, he's looking out for all of us, and he's, telling us, hey, no matter who you are, what you do, what you love, just please know that we love you, other people love you more than you love yourself, so please don't do anything like this, because it's all going to be okay. Like, him saying that was one of the most just one of the most incredible things I've ever read, because he doesn't need to comfort us. Like, we need to comfort him. And if that just if that doesn't show you a good leader, then I don't know what does, because that was amazing. But I'm also very worried about him because this was his member, this was his friend and his brother, and I just hope that he takes the time for himself rather than other people, or even sometimes like Key, Taemin, or Minho. I hope that he worries about his own health, about his own mental state, rather than every other person. Key also sent or posted a message, and it was more along the lines of what I expected the boys to post. It was, remembering Jong and, sort of talking to him, but also talking about him and how much they love him and how much, they hope that he is well on his way off. And that one was really sweet, and I love the picture. Minho and Taemin, while I discussed in my last video how I was very proud of Minho and how strong he was being, I also hope that he's taking time for himself too. I hope that he doesn't feel like he has to be the strong rock, for everyone else to lean on, because that's a huge burden, and that can take its toll on someone. There's a lot of messages going around. I posted one as well, like on my Tumblr, saying like stay strong, Shawl, stay strong Shiny, all this stuff. And a lot of people are taking that to mean stay strong as in don't show your emotions, kind of a 1950s sense of stay strong, like be a man, don't cry, get through it, get over it. And that's not what I think any of us mean at all. I think it's just more of a stay strong, and as in don't lose hope. Like, don't feel hopeless and like there's nothing left to live for, or there's nothing else to be happy about. I think that's what we mean when we say stay strong, not literally stay strong, so the people that are misunderstanding that, and they even say when they kind of correct you, they're like, hey, just kindly want to inject it, like say, this isn't exactly the right sentiment, but I think it is, because there are lots of people right now, Showls I think especially, that just feel very lost and very sad, and like what else is there now? So it's just a sentiment saying don't feel like that, don't feel hopeless, because if you want to look on the bright side, we still have 4 other talented, beautiful boys that we can support and love. And if Shiny never comes back, you know what? That's fine. Like, I'm honestly, that's the furthest thing from my mind right now. Like, if they all decide, hey, we're not signing with SM and we're not staying together as a group, that's okay with me. I just hope that they can mentally and physically stay healthy and not let this just disintegrate them as people. I don't care about being an artist anymore. Like, just as a person, I hope that they're okay and they're doing well. One last thing, please stop berating and annoying and getting on to celebrities in Korea that you didn't see go to Jonghyun's funeral or memorial, or didn't post anything about him. Like, stop that. The biggest one right now is Zion T. There were so many people that were commenting on his Instagram saying like, hey, why weren't you at Jonghyun's funeral? Where were you? How dare you? Like, again, like, I just don't understand where people get the audacity to feel like they can say that to someone, where people feel like they have the right to attack someone that they know, first of all, they don't know. You don't know the man, so stop acting like you do. And second of all, they feel like they can attack them while they're mourning. Like, that's just the rudest thing to me. And Zion T thankfully called them out, was like, this is ridiculous, how dare you, you know, attack me in this way. I went and visited his memorial site, I went and saw him, but you know what, I went when there were no cameras. And he made such a good point. Why would someone go to a memorial site just to be seen? Almost like it's a social event, like, oh, I went to be seen there. Like, no, you go because you want to visit and pay respect to this man that has passed away, not to be seen, not to be, you know, in the limelight, in the spotlight. So to anyone that is getting onto other celebrities, Zion T, anyone else that they didn't see at the memorial, please stop, because that just makes everything bad and ugly and negative, and it's just gross. Also, not to mention, you're attacking a person who's just lost a friend or a colleague, or a lot of artists posted like they didn't even know Jung, like especially young artists, young rookies and things like that. They didn't know Jung, they had never met him, but they looked up to him. And so, like, you don't know how Jung affected them, and you don't know how they're taking this whole situation, so just don't. I know this was a really long video. I had a lot to say, so sorry about that, and sorry if I rambled in certain parts. I feel like I did. But if you have any comments on mental health, and you have any thoughts, opinions, suggestions, solutions, I don't know, anything, put it down in the comments below and I'll read through them. Once again, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying healthy. I haven't really been keeping up with myself, so I need to get back to that. But I hope that you guys are just leaning on one another and not trying to take this in all by yourself, especially if you have no one in your personal life that really understands what you're going through. Then please, please, please lean on us, lean on everyone that you can, on Tumblr, Twitter, on YouTube. And again, like I said, just talk about it out loud. Just out loud, to yourself, to your cat, it doesn't matter, but really speaking it out loud into existence, it helps. You don't understand how much it does, but it really helps. So please do that. Thank you guys for watching so much, and I will be coming out with my end of the year videos, so it should come out in a day or two. But I just want to say here that I appreciate all of you guys supporting me, following me, even if you don't follow me, but you watch my videos from time to time. Like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for people that comment on my videos, like, that's just a step further, and I want to thank you guys as well. It means a lot to me, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for supporting CUKpopToday, and have a good day.